Legend of Total War here, and today Creative Assembly has posted another blog for Total War Warhammer 3 Tides of Torment release update. So this is 28 minutes ago. I'll release this video the moment I finished recording it. Well, it's got to get uploaded first, so it'll be like 5-10 minutes roughly. And I'll give you my opinions on this, and I'd love to hear your opinions in the comment. I'll of course leave a link to this in the description if you want to go read that out. Because yeah, I'm not going to just read this out word for word. I'm just going to mostly, for the most part, summarize it. It's not a particularly long blog, but I think there's some interesting points here to discuss, and that's what I want to do. So it says, we are delaying the release date of Total War Warhammer 3 Tides of Torment from our previously stated summer release window and now intend to launch later this year. We will have an exact date for you once we finalize our revised plans, and we'll share details as soon as they're ready. So that'll be roughly 2 weeks before it comes out. So from what I'm suspecting is that the current plans after this is October. That's what my current expectations are. My previous expectations were August, and that may have been their original plan, but it's definitely not now, because August was the end of summer, and usually whenever they say it's coming in summer or coming at the end of the year, usually the expectation is the very last moment until that comes out. But yeah, August is the end of summer, so it's just not coming out in August anymore. So my expectation is now October. That would be maybe a 2-month delay. I don't really mind if they're delaying things, as long as there's a good reason for it, which there seems to be. So it says here, in recent playtesting, we have asked ourselves if this next DLC met the standards that we've set in recent releases, and the short answer was no. However, we know it can, so we want to spend more time working on it, reviewing the content and improving the gameplay experience that it's set to bring. This is a really good attitude for them to have, and one that they didn't have back in 2022 and 2023 specifically. I mean, they had people playtesting them, giving them negative feedback, and they were just ignoring it. So at least internally now, they're able to identify when something is subpar, and then rather than just push it out and thinking that people will just buy it anyway at an increased price, they're identifying that maybe it's not meeting the standards and it needs a little bit more time in the oven, and that's better than pushing it out early and having everyone get angry at them. I think Creative Assembly also understand that they're skating on thin ice and that 2023 hasn't been forgotten, and that people have given them another chance, but they haven't forgotten about what happened in 2022 and 2023. I certainly haven't, and I know many of you guys haven't either. And that we need to hold them account to keep doing this. This is good, so it's good to praise them where it's due. This is a good attitude to have. I don't mind if something is delayed as long as it's not complete garbage. Like, I don't really care if it comes out, like a DLC comes out every month, if it's just complete and utter trash. Like, I'll just play something else if that's the case. It's important that the quality is there, even if it means 10 months or 12 months in between DLC. It'd be interesting to see if things get delayed again. Hopefully not, but if that's what needs to be done, I support it. Because, there's other things to do. You guys keep sending in disaster battles. We'll just keep playing the game as it is. It says down further that there's going to be another patch before the before this DLC, so it'll be interesting to see that. And that one seems a bit meatier than what 6.2 was. So anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. So it says these changes will likely mean the content we shared in our What's Next video for Slaanesh and Norsko is no longer accurate. As soon as we know the final shape of these changes, we'll share them to you directly as part of the final What's Next video. Give you the complete picture on our third faction in this DLC and the changes to other factions. Okay, well that's all good. I mean, they originally said that this What's Next video was going to come out in June, but obviously that didn't happen. And then they said it was going to come out in July, so I kind of don't think that's happening either. So I don't think anything's happening in July. So it's going to be a pretty... Oh, wait, did 6.2 happen in July? I feel like it did. That was only like a week ago, wasn't it? I don't know. I've lost track of time. Anyway, it says, we know this is disappointing news. Well, yes and no. It is like disappointing that there's nothing coming this month or next month, but it's also not disappointing news because at least it's an attitude adjustment that you're not necessarily the same Creative Assembly that you were in 2022 and 2023. And that Creative Assembly I despised. It was just not... There was just no way that attitude was going to lead to good quality games coming from that studio. Whereas, delays for the sake of meeting the consumer standard, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think many people... There's definitely going to be like a couple of outliers that are going to get angry about this, but I think the vast majority of people will understand. If it's not ready, it's not ready. That's fine. At least you're not trying to pull the wool over people's eyes and be like, well, costs are up and all that other bullshit that happened in 2023. That's the problem that people had. Creative Assembly has always had like an aversion with giving people bad news. But I think what happens is that Creative Assembly lies about things, like what happened with The Future of Three Kingdoms, which was a bullshit title. They tried to pull the wool over people's eyes. They saw right through it, and then they got angry about it, and they sort of interpreted that as, well, people get angry about bad news. It's not that people get angry about bad news, it's because you're fucking lying about it. That's all. We're trying to pull the wool over, because it makes it seem like you think we're stupid, and we're clearly not as stupid as you think. And that was where people had a problem with it. But if they had just come out in whenever it was they cancelled Three Kingdoms, like I said, it's all just a blur for me now, and said, look, Three Kingdoms, we're stopping our development of it, and even though we had more things planned, it's just not really working for us, so we're going to try to make a sequel for the game. I feel like if they had gone with that kind of narrative instead of, we've finished the game, see? How awesome is that? That probably would have been better received. People would have definitely still been disappointed. There's no getting around that. Bad news will always be taken badly by some people, but it would have been way better received than the way that they went about it. And in many ways, I reckon the way that they went about it actually contributed to killing the project of Three Kingdoms 2. So this is disappointing news, but you're at least communicating. That's really important. I mean, the communication this year has been dog shit. In terms of what they said they were going to do back in their original apology blog back in like 2023, I don't feel like they've met that standard by a pretty long shot, but it's still better than what they were in 2023, which I guess it's like baby steps. Maybe they'll get there eventually. But the only way they're going to get there is if people keep holding them to account, which people have been doing. There's been so many memes on the Reddit and on other platforms, like just dunking on CA for not communicating, bringing up the promises that they've made and how they're not fulfilling it. That's how you get them to actually do it. Because the thing is, if you're complacent and you just let Creative Assembly do whatever they want, they will just go straight back to doing what they were doing in 2023. If you give them license to do the blood pack again, that's exactly what they'll do. They'll set the maximum standard that you're willing to hold them to account to. So you have all the power. They don't want you to know that you have all the power, but you do. By making fun of them whenever they drop the ball, by holding them to account, that's how you get them to constantly have to lift their standards. So well done to the entire community for doing that. So 2025 has been a slower year for many of you in our Warhammer communities, and we're not oblivious to that. We're proud of the updates that we've released for the game this year, but we know that what you love most about the game is the option to experience more of it, especially through new gameplay styles offered by new Legendary Lords, all of the unique new units, and the focus we give to reworks and core game improvements. Well, they've been doing a fair bit of this here, but yeah, there's been no new Legendary Lords added in 2025 so far. And I think there was someone on the Reddit that posted that by this point in Warhammer 2's life cycle, as in like 3.5 years into it, there was like 10 more Legendary Lords and 7 more pieces of FLC. So it's like there was significantly more added in Warhammer 2 than what has been added so far in Warhammer 3. So production on this has slowed down very much. And also, thing to keep in mind is that Warhammer 2 experienced like the entirety of COVID, which slowed things down dramatically for Creative Assembly, and they still managed to produce more than what's happened with Warhammer 3. Warhammer 3 has been a rough ride. I think most of you will agree to that. There's been some ups, there's been a lot of downs, and that's just, I guess, unfortunate. Whilst the game is in a better space than in previous years, thanks to the efforts we made through 2024, we are currently not meeting our commitments to be more active on these fronts, and we apologize for not being more transparent. And the only reason they're apologizing for that is because you guys are making fun of them and holding them to account. I guarantee that if people were not making fun of them on the forums and stuff about this kind of stuff, that they would not be saying this stuff. They will basically address, without directly addressing your criticisms, wherever you do so. And that's why it's important that you don't get complacent and keep holding them to account. If you want information, demand it. They should give it to you. As long as it's not unreasonable, Creative Assembly, tell us your accounting details right now. No, this unreasonable expectation, But if you want information about what's happening with the damn game, and the wider community in general is wanting that, then I don't think that that's an unreasonable expectation. Okay, so these are the plans for the next few months. So July, siege improvements that are coming to the Proving Grounds will enter public testing ahead of its release. We'll share details on what's being changed what we're testing for, and process on how we'll handle your feedback before integrating changes into the main game. So just thinking back to the AI rework. So I've been playing a couple of campaigns in my own time. I don't see any improvement in the AI. I still see them doing the same thing. This is just campaign AI. So I still see them doing the same thing as always, being real stupid, being real cowards, blobbing up all their armies in their capital, waiting for the player to show up, basically. I don't see them as being improved whatsoever. They definitely appear to have more resources, though. But that's just from my playtesting playthroughs that I've played so far. I mean, you guys let me know how the AI updates have gone so far, but for me, it feels exactly the same. Like, I'm still not being challenged by them. But it'd be interesting to see what happens with the siege improvements, because that is definitely one of the biggest, if not the biggest problem with Total Warhammer 3, is that the siege rework was really quite a downgrade. And it didn't have we didn't think it could be worse than what it was in like Warhammer 1 and 2, but they managed to find a way to do so. And I think one of the biggest things they could do, and I've heard that it's actually quite difficult to do this, but you got to get rid of bot ladders. This game is never going to achieve its full potential. It's just never going to achieve its full potential in general. There's just too many issues. But anyway, in regard to sieges, you can't reach its full potential while bot ladders exist. Nobody likes them. It's not good. If it means you got to fix the whole fucking AI to like sort that out, I really do think that needs to be done. Bot ladders is just boring. I hate sieges. You guys hate sieges. So many people hate sieges. There's just nothing good about them. And bot ladders, I think, is a big component of that because it completely invalidates the point of a wall. If anyone can just get inside for any reason whatsoever, like climb over from a different angle, or if a dog can just break through the gate, it really invalidates the point of even having a wall. And it's like, why is just not every unit a siege attacker? Since walls are no deterrent for any units. Is there a unit in the game that cannot get past a wall in Total War Warhammer 3? I don't think there is. Like, you take Medieval 2, for example. In fact, most historical Total War games, there were units that just couldn't get into a city if they didn't have a ram. In fact, that would be the case with most units. You had to build a ram or a siege tower. And if you lost those equipment or you lost all your infantry, you couldn't get into the city, and the game would be like, you can't continue this siege, you lose. I thought that was just a way better system, but it is what it is. Okay, so August update 6.3 is bringing. So yeah, it says a new major update coming next month is bringing some overdue quality of life improvements to Tomb Kings and Lizardmen. So I'm pretty happy about this, because if I was to pick like my top 3 factions to update, it would have been Tomb Kings, Lizardmen, and Bretonnia. Sad to see Bretonia's not getting anything, but I also don't expect anything for them. But I'm glad to see the Lizardmen get some stuff, so it would be really good if they're listening to feedback. I got some ideas about Lizardmen. What I'm really hoping is that they add like a geomantic web improvement. I think that's the main thing, because the geomantic web currently is super boring. My thoughts on it is like have it. Maybe I should make a separate video for that. Let's just keep going. As for the Tomb Kings, they need like everything needs at least some kind of touch up. They're too slow to get started, and they've just massively fallen behind. I think it takes way too long to get canopic jars, and so their campaign's just way too slow compared to others. That's my thoughts on them. But I do like the Tomb Kings and Lizardmen. Both of them used to be some of my favorite factions, but other factions have since gotten way more improvements. It's funny now, dwarfs are one of my favorite factions. Dwarfs and Warriors of Chaos are like my two of my favorite in Warhammer 3, and they both used to be some of my least favorite. Anyway, and revisions to generic starting traits, that's good, because some of the starting traits are rubbish. We'll also revisit some of the skills used by generic orcs and goblin characters to help refresh those to a more modern standard. That's good, but I have no intention of playing orcs and goblins pretty much ever again. I think the state that they're currently in is just boring. I am not interested in playing that faction whatsoever, so I don't care whatsoever about this. But that being said, it's not all about me, so if you guys are happy about that, then that's great. All of this will be paired with the usual host of minor gameplay fixes. Yeah, okay. August will also see the release of a newly recorded What's Next video focused on our third faction. So this was the video that was supposed to originally come out in June. Then it said it was coming in July, and now it's August. So they've delayed this one a fair bit. So What's Next? Focused on our third faction for Tides of Torment. Everyone knows it's High Elves, whatever, where you'll hear directly from our developers on what to expect, as well as updates on the changes and revisions that we've made to Slaanesh and Norska since publishing our earlier videos in the series. That's cool. don't know too much to say about that. September. We're saving space in September for any necessary hotfixes following August release of Update 6.3. Otherwise, our total focus is on Tides of Torment from here on out. We won't have any major updates planned for release in September, but we'll stay on top of emerging issues as we get to work on the 7.0 update. So this is basically them saying, we're definitely doing stuff in September, but don't expect anything because it's only going to be small stuff. Basically, no Tides of Torment in August or September. Minimum expectation would be October. That's my interpretation of this. Now, what I say by minimum expectation is it could be November. It could be December. Imagine if it's December, if it's a full year between DLC, which is pretty hilarious in like a sad sort of way. But it is what it is. If things aren't working out the way that it should, you got to spend more time in the oven. It is what it is. It's fine. Nothing about this makes me angry. I'm not really disappointed by any of the news. I'm glad that they are at least communicating. And this is another important thing that we have to keep in mind, is that you always want to, like with community engagements, it goes both ways. If you want to incentivize Creative Assembly to be more open, when they give you bad news, or what they think is going to be bad news, if you react to it in a petulant sort of way, yeah, Creative Assembly, you guys suck, fuck you. If you respond to it like that, then they're not going to do it, basically. We'll just not tell them next time, right? But if they give you some disappointing news and you're like understanding and be like, well, we understand, take as long as you need to, but just, hey, keep us in the loop. Then they'll be like, oh, wow, they responded way better to that than we thought. Maybe we should do this more often. Give them an incentive to behave this way and they'll continue to behave this way. That's my thoughts on it. So, I don't think it's going to help anyone to get mad about any of this. I mean, if the DLC is not ready, it's not ready. Maybe it's because they allocated too many resources away and it just didn't get done in time. Who knows? We don't know the ins and outs of how Creative Assembly operate. We know it's very poorly managed anyway. There's nothing we can do about that. We don't get a say in the matter. But, they didn't meet their original scheduling times. It is what it is. At least they're focused on quality. That's all. That's the only thing that we could really expect from them at this point. On the topic of road ahead, we also want to acknowledge that the growing conversation we see about the game's future beyond Tides of Torment. Yeah, this has been a big conversation. So lots of rumors behind the scenes that I've been hearing, and I've obviously been communicating that. And obviously, because things do change, from what I was originally hearing is like this was the third last DLC. That was information from like a year ago. But because they're changing things up, that information is likely inaccurate now. Maybe it was true then. It's probably not true now. We've seen a few folk asking for specific characters that might not fit in any of our DLC formats. So we are exploring how we might introduce a smaller style of DLC that brings a single legendary lord or hero alongside a few favored additions. We're working out how these would fit with our schedule, but have a good idea for who the first one could be, and she's someone near and dear to your blood. So I think they did a pretty bad job of being subtle there. That is most obviously, Thanquol. They're talking about there. Obviously Thanquol. No, I'm just kidding. They're talking about Neferata, obviously. I don't think anyone who knows anything about the lore would not have interpreted that to be Neferata. So there's a I don't think they're They're going to be careful with this kind of stuff because remember, like years ago, they said Boris Todbringer would have his day, and maybe he will, but that was like 5 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago now, and people haven't forgotten. They're like, we expect Toddy to show up at some point. So if you're going to say something like this, people are going to expect that that's what's coming. So now you have to do it, Creative Assembly. She has to come. So if she doesn't, everyone's going to be pretty damn annoyed. So look, I would not have a problem if there was a DLC that's like $6, $7. I don't know what they're going to do. It's probably going to be more than that. And it's just one legendary lord. I don't have a problem with that. I don't care about the theme behind her matchup. I mean, really her theme is she really should be paired up with Khalida. So she's already in the game. Who else are you going to pair her with? So, for a good theme. So if they want to do like a one legendary lord and just bring in Neferata with no additional units, and it's just like, here's a new legendary lord, and it's just like a couple of bucks, great. I have no issue with that. I don't really like the massive fucking DLCs, like the $25 DLC, or I don't think those are great ideas. I mean, it's great that they split them up into several packets, unlike what they did originally with Shadows of Change, because they've done that now. But yeah, I think the smaller DLCs would be better. The main thing here, and it's always important to point that out, is that the price has to match. Don't think for a second that people are going to swallow a One Lord DLC for like $20, okay? The price has to match the amount of content on offer. And that was the big problem with Shadows of Change and the whole bullshit that happened with 2023. The price has to match. And the same thing with Pharaoh as well. The price didn't match what was being offered. I'm sure more people would have bought Total War Pharaoh if it was more reasonably priced, but they put the wool over everyone's eyes and be like, oh guys, it's the full game. It's a full game. It's not a saga. $100. $100 Australian, that is. That's what it was on offer for. I'm just like, yeah, bullshit. Yeah, right. Very few people are going to buy that. And that was the case. So they lowered the price, but I feel like too much PR damage was done by that point. Anyway, right now, our Total War Warhammer teams are singularly focused on Tides of Torment, so we'll be keeping all our attention where it needs to be, and we'll speak more on the possible updates of smaller DLC later on in the year. So I'm in favor of smaller DLCs, again, as long as the price matches what's on offer. I imagine that most of you guys would agree with that, but if you disagree with it, let me know in the comments. The thing is, look, I don't know if Creative Assembly reads the comment sections on my video. I know that they do read YouTubers' videos, comments in other YouTubers' videos. I don't know if they do it to mine. But communicating what you would want to see and what you wouldn't want to see is a good way to influence exactly what they're going to do. Like if this was met with universal praise, then they're likely to go ahead with it. If this was met with universal disdain, like on all the forums, no small DLC, we want bigger DLCs, $50 DLCs. Then they'll be like, okay, well, let's just put Neferata in with the end times or whatever is coming as this big DLC. Anyway, next year we'll return with one of the biggest Total Warhammer content packs ever created in the trilogy, alongside some free content. You'll get to see some of this nice and early as part of this year's 25th anniversary showcase. So if I had to guess, I think they're talking about the End Times DLC. I mean, I think this has been a pretty badly kept secret, like a lot of things with Creative Assembly. Of course, they could always have changed their plans, or it was never their plan to begin with. You just never know. But if I had to guess, I'd say it's End Times DLC, as in the final big DLC for Total War Warhammer 3 before Warhammer 40k Total War comes out. They're definitely going to want to get that out before 40k. But who knows, that game could get delayed as well. We just don't know what's going on. And it'd be interesting to see that stuff as well. So to ensure that the journey that we take through this next chapter of the series is smoother and that we are more present in our communities, please do look out for our return to live streams on Twitch and YouTube. This is great news. Really, really good news, because what they had with like Tom and Wheels back in the day, that was great. I really liked those guys. I can't wait. Please, whoever you get to do this, please call me a dickhead. Oh, I love that so much. I really won't get angry about it. End your stream with, and Legend of Total War is a dickhead. Oh, please do it. It'd be such a good nod to it. Or if not me, someone else that has a sense of humor about it. By all means, please do so. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, they probably won't, unless the person is about to quit and they did it off script. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that'd be good. So that's great, because that was one big thing that I was pointing out really throughout all these other blogs, is that they used to do this and then they stopped doing it. I really liked it, and I think it was good for the community, because I feel like everyone liked Tom and Wheels. Like they had good vibes, and that's all that we were looking for anyway. And that allows them to just like stay connected with the community, so we don't have these huge time gaps in between blogs. Like blogs are boring as hell, and it's good to have a human face to actually talk to, and you just talk about the game. I mean, they're not going to give any specific information. They're going to tell you what's coming, but they can, just discuss Total War and just be fans of the game, assuming that they are. But anyway, alongside plenty of 25th anniversary celebration events, we're bringing back community live streams on a regular weekly schedule, so we'll have a one-stop space for all of us to get together and updated on what's happening across Total War. This is really great news. I'm really great to see that. I'm not sure if that's going to bring me back to live streaming. I'm well and truly switched off with that. But you never know. We'll see how things go. I wouldn't say no to it. I'd just say it's unlikely. But I definitely will tune into some of them and see how it's going for them. Probably won't comment in the comment section because that usually doesn't end very well for me. But I'll definitely lurk on at least a couple of them. We want to apologize again for the disappointment of today's news, but hope that you'll look forward to a brighter road ahead. Okay, so don't apologize for the disappointing news. Apologize for the lack of information, a lack of communication. Over the past year, really. I think that's where the apology needs to be. I have no ill will towards disappointing news. That happens. Shit hits the fan sometimes. That is just part of life and running a business. Sometimes things just don't go well. But it's the lack of communication that's the problem. At least that's what I think. I mean, you guys let me know. Am I right about this? Is it not that it's disappointing news, but it's the lack of communication that people are pissed off about? I feel like that's the case, and I feel like sometimes the higher-ups at Creative Assembly don't interpret it that way, and they think that people just react badly to bad news. But you guys let me know, because I'm only one person. I can kind of make a prediction about how you're going to behave, but I don't know. I mean, sometimes you guys surprise me. But anyway. Oh, and the third faction for Tides of Torment is High Elves, led by Sea Lord Aisling. And yes, we're very excited to show you more of that soon. Oh, wow, surprised. Not at all. So, made that prediction. There were leaks about it. Wow, they were right. Okay, cool. Great. I'm glad it's High Elves, but that was one of the most predictable matches up for a Slaanesh style DLC. Apart from maybe the Dark Elves, but like I've said previously, I just don't know what else they can do for the Dark Elves, apart from maybe a bit of a rework, although the Dark Elves aren't as bad as maybe I've originally led on for ages ago. I guess I just had such a bad taste in my mouth initially with Immortal Empires with them. I still don't think they're a fantastic, fun faction, and there's definitely some work that could be done to them, but they're not as bad as as I originally thought they were, at least in terms of fun. They're very powerful. I was talking about fun factor. But anyway, overall, I'm not really upset about any of this information. It's pretty much exactly what I expected, and I would encourage Creative Assembly to just be more. You don't have to tell us everything that's going on, but you just can't really go weeks and weeks without communicating whatsoever. And then expect that people aren't going to make fun of you, especially when you set the standard back in 2020 and 2021. You had a lot of community engagement, and then it dropped off, and then it's just what it has been like for the past couple of years. It's been shit. It hasn't been good being a part of the Total War community in general because it's been freaking silent, and we have to, for the most part, speculate, which is inaccurate, and that leads to a lot of false interpretations on what's going on, which I've probably contributed to a fair bit of that. But yeah, if they just communicate a bit better, that wouldn't happen anywhere near as much. Anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. I think we've covered everything. Let us know in the comments what you think of all this. Overall, I'm not upset or anything. I don't feel like it's disappointing. It's just a delay. These things happen. But I'm just glad that they're communicating. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time. Really curious to hear what you guys have to say about this stuff as well.